Genesis 1, verse 3. Ke epen hatheos, genetheto phos, ke egeneta phos. It's a short verse here, but there's a lot of beautiful stuff going on. Let's start with the first verb, which is apen. This, of course, is from Lego. The underlying Hebrew is vayomer. And here now, I mentioned this in the prior video, notice this is a third singular aorist active indicative. Previously in verse 2, we had imperfectives, but now we're moving forward with the aorist, and that's where action is kicking in. And so God said. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that this verb here, various forms of apen or Lego, are used over and over again in Genesis 1 as the main verb of creation. Things are happening whenever God is speaking. And that's why I would argue John in John 1 that we looked at last time describes Jesus as the Logos, because it is the noun form of Lego. Well, what does God say? Genetheto here is an third singular aorist passive infinitive from ginomai. And ginomai is a typical verb for to come about. And notice it's aorist because of the gen here, the stem change. And so God issues an imperative, let there come into existence light. Let light be, if you will. And the response is with another form of ginomai. This time it's a third singular aorist active indicative because now creation is responding to the word of God. Light comes into existence. And as we'll see at various points, that's the rhythm in Genesis 1 where God speaks, and he will use a Lego form of that, and then creation responds with ginomai, typically with egeneton. We'll look at that again in a couple of videos. Now, this speech act whereby light comes into creation is alluded to in 2 Corinthians 4:6. Paul says, for God who said, let light shine out of darkness. Now notice it's not a direct quotation. You do have the use of phos here. You do have skatos, which was in the prior verse as the thing that is sort of above the deeps. And a different verb here is from lampo, that is to shine. But Paul's picking up on the essence. It's really his own sort of inspired summary, if you will, of Genesis 1:3. And what I find really powerful about that is that he says, look, this was the original shining in creation. And then he says, this very same God is shining in our hearts, same word, light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ, who was there at creation as well. He says, now the gospel is the same kind of light shining as was in original creation, but now bringing about new creation. A beautiful way he taps into Genesis 1:3.